saw, I conquered, I'm bald. Yeah. I came, I saw, I conquered, I'm bald. Yeah. Yo, we should get them, so I got them all. Yeah. And turn this bitch into a burial.
Hey guys, Too Soon here, and thank you for checking out these videos. Before we get started, I just want to clarify that what I'm going to be going over for the first couple of videos is a kind of brief overview of just how Ableton works, all of the basic functionality. It's going to be geared towards the guy that just got Ableton and is trying to get his feet wet. Once we go over all of that, then I'll dive in on some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years and show you how to kind of create different buses and different racks and things like that to kind of help with just your music, your production. So let's go ahead and dive in. So when you first open up Ableton, this is what you get. And yeah, you're just like, well, where do the tracks go? So this section here is your mixing section to adjust your levels and things like that for when you're doing a mix down in a master. Okay, but we can kind of go over that in a later video. For now, you're going to click over this section right here. Okay, this opens up your arrangement area. Okay, this is where you're actually going to put your samples and your MIDI clips and all that good stuff. Okay, and before I go any further, really quick, this section right here, okay, this little window right here in your bottom left corner is an info area that kind of gives you a brief summary of wherever your mouse is, at. So like if you're like, oh, what does this do? I don't know what it does. This little section will show you what it does. So if I were example, this is the record button, and the little section at the bottom left corner explains what it does. So if I go over something or if I miss something and you have questions, move your mouse over it and it'll show you what it's doing. Okay, if you want to get rid of it, all you got to do is just click this little button here, bam, gone. Okay, simple. Now, for here we have our MIDIs and then we have our audios. Okay, two different things. MIDI is for like the different notes. If you have like a MIDI controller, like a keyboard or like a launch pad of some sort, you can use that to kind of write out your melodies. You can do drum patterns. There's a few different things that you can do with the MIDIs. And then your audios is all of your actual audio samples. So like your kicks, your snares, your bass stabs, vocals, everything under the sun that is in a waveform. Okay, that goes in this section. Okay, and then you have, depending on how many audio effects or plugins you have, you can select all of them here to change the volume, the automation, all that kind of stuff. That's what these are for. This right here, this little blue line, is your volume control for the specific track that you're on. Okay, moving it up and down with your mouse will adjust the volume. Double click will set it back to 0. Okay, this right here is just to signify that your track is activated. So if it is deselected, it means that nothing is going to come out of that track. Okay, so if for whatever reason, if you're playing something and a sound's missing, check this, see if it's actually turned on. Okay, also this section here is your solo button. So if you select it, only this track will play, nothing else will play. This right here is your recording, well, not recording, but it arms this track, so whatever it is that you are trying to record, it'll get recorded into this track. So right now I have my mic set up, so if I were to hit record, it'll record in this section here. And as you can see, as I'm talking, it's recording my voice. If I were to hit the space button, it stops it. Space button, it is also the play button. It'll record in this section here. Bam, see? I'm just going to delete that. I don't like the sound of my voice. Anyways, so that's how you can record things like live instruments and things like that when you route them through your interface. And we can go over how to properly set up your interface in another video. Okay, then this section here is your panning section. So C stands for center. So if you click on it and move down, it pans whatever is in this track all the way to the left. So it will only come out of the left speaker. opposite only come out of the right speaker. Now, this panning is cool for certain effects. I personally don't use it because basically the way that Ableton is set up, it's basically just turning the volume down on one speaker is essentially what it's doing for the panning effect. There's other plugins that you can use that give it a better effect that I tend to use, but if you don't have those plugins, this is another viable option for you. Okay, so this is kind of just like the basic stuff for now. In the track section, we can go over all of this and this in a later video. Okay, and then also what you'll want to know is that this section here is your BPM. When you click on it, and if you move up or down, that changes the total or the BPM for your specific track. You can also change BPMs mid-track by doing automation. Pretty simple trick. All you have to do, right click, show automation. It pulls it down here. You can set an anchor by just clicking this red arrow, or sorry, this red line, and then if you were to set another anchor and move it, it's a slight increase of these, what is it, 16 bars? No. Yeah. That it went from 150 to 167. I mean, you can obviously change it, but yeah, that's how you can change tempo mid-song. Okay? So that's just another little tip that we use. This is your time signature, so basic 4/4. You can get crazy and make some weird stuff that's out of time by just selecting it and moving it up and down. As you can see, the bars change, so it's showing you the time signatures. So this one, there's 10 bars in these 4 sections. Okay, like you can get pretty complex once you get into like music theory and like actually writing out music. So that's what that's for. And then you got your play, your stop, and record. Everything else is you don't necessarily need right now when you're starting out. There's some more in-depth stuff that we can go over later on. And if you have a MIDI keyboard, you can use this to activate it if you want to play around with things. If you want to map stuff out on your actual like typing keyboard, you can select this and it'll bring this option up. So if I don't want my spacebar as my play button, I can select the play button here and then push whatever button on my keyboard or my MIDI keyboard, and that will be my quote-unquote play button. So I'm remapping everything to my liking, depending on your setup and how everything is the way that you want it to be. Okay. Other than that, those are like the basic things for Ableton. As far as like the user face, like when you're first starting out, over here you have all of your sounds and your sample packs, your plugins. Everything is all going to be in this section here. If for whatever reason, if it's not showing up, there's this little arrow right here. It might look like this. So if you click on this, it'll open it up. Okay, right here is your stock Ableton audio effects. So like your EQs, your limiters, your OTT, compressor, all that stuff. Okay, we can go over all of that at another time. Then you've got your normal plugins. So the way that I have my plugins set up is I have a specific folder designated for every plugin that I've purchased and or downloaded, however I've gotten them. Okay, and so I have it mapped so that way everything that anytime I buy a new one, I save it into that folder and it'll pop up in this section here. So I just click on this and then all my plugins are there. Everything from SonarWorks to Waves to everything you can think of. Yeah, so that's where my plugins are. And then as far as my sample packs, same thing. I have all my sample packs stored in one specific folder. So that way it pulls directly from there. And there's 2 ways to actually put your sample packs in this section here. Okay, you can literally just drag and drop and it'll automatically route and map wherever it is you're pulling it from. Super simple. Or you can just hit add folder and then just find it wherever it is you have stored and it'll just put it in there. And if it doesn't show up, close down Ableton and reopen it and it should pop up automatically. And then everything will be stored like this, all of your samples. So if you want like a drum shot, like let's say a kick, bam, there it is. Okay, and then you can use your up and down arrows to, hold on, let me turn this down, it's really loud. Okay, so you can use your up and down arrows to hear the samples as is. And if you're like, oh, okay, I like that one, if you hit the right arrow, it'll play it again. Okay, and if for whatever reason, if you're like, I don't really like listening to the samples, I mean, I don't know why you would turn it off, but you can hit this little blue button here, and it turns it off. So like even when you're going up and down and scrolling through, it doesn't play the sample. Okay, but yeah, so I just keep that on just so I can hear whatever it is I'm trying to find. Let's see, what else can we go over? Other than that, like those are the basic things to learn on Ableton. Oh, when you want to place a track, like a sample into your arrangement area, just drag and drop. That's all you got to do. Okay? If you move your cursor up to this section here, and if you select it and pull your mouse down, it zooms in. Up, zooms out, and then left and right to move your cursor depending on like where it is, how long your song is. But yeah, so you can really dial in on where you're placing it. You know, if you, for whatever reason, need to have a slight delay on when your kick is supposed to hit on the 1 count, you can do that by zooming in. The bars will open up a little bit more. Like I said, it gives you so much freedom to literally do whatever you want within this DAW. So yeah, and then if you double click on this, it opens up an actual window here, so you can change, you can warp it, you can half time it, or you can double it, you can reverse it by clicking this button here. You can transpose it, so you can pitch it down a whole octave, depending on how many semitones you want. You can adjust the specific waveform from here. You can increase the volume or decrease it, like if it's a quieter sample, you can do all that from here. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can pitch bend it, all these kinds of things. And then if you, so this section right here, right? And let's say I want to add an audio effect, say an EQ, right? It changes it. But if I want to go back to the actual sample, if you could look down here, here's your sample, here's where your audio effects are. Okay? You can switch back and forth and it'll just pull in this area. And you can, you can double click to get rid of it, and then your audio effects, same thing. Okay? And again, this is where all of your audio effects are, and you can map them, you can create automations and all sorts of things. Like, we can go over that in the next video on how to create automations and things like that. But this is where that happens. Let's see. Other than that, that is a basic overview of when you're first opening up Ableton and how to at least start creating a track. Okay? Next video we'll go over some other things on automations and things like that. But until next time, guys, have fun, be creative, don't feel like you need to follow every single thing that I teach you, because at the end of the day, it's your music, it's your creations, it's your art. You don't have to follow everything that I do. It's find your own techniques and tricks. This is all just going to be guidelines. That's the whole beauty of music. Like, there's no rules to it. You can make whatever you want. But yeah, guys, alright, until next time, have a good one.